In America, everyone counts, and the 2020 census is how that great promise is kept. Respond today online, by phone, or by mail, and help inform hundreds of billions in funding for education, health programs, and more. Shape your future. Start at 2020census.gov. So here's the deal. What our responsibility is when we talk about this election, it means that you are going to have to do your part. You are going to have to be fully engaged. And look, black people, historically, we have had to deal with this nonsense our entire lives. Even after one of the Reconstruction Amendments were passed, and then we were still denied the right to vote, we've dealt with this. Understand, it is 77 days until Election Day. 77 days. And I want y'all to do this here. Here we go to my iPad. This is Vote.org. Now, let me help y'all out. Some of you might say, hey, look, I'm good. Why should I check my registration? Well, here's why. I got an email today from a woman who watches this show. And she said that, and I'm trying to find the email, and so just give me a second. Here's what it is. Her email said, urgency of using vote.org. She says, this is Deirdre Barnes. She said, I'm a member and listen to your show daily. I watched the segment on the importance of using the vote.org app to check your voting status. I've been sharing this information to everyone I know. This weekend, one of my friends entered her information into the website and received a message, no voter record found. This is a woman who has lived in the same community in Brooklyn, New York, same address for over 25 years and votes in every election. She immediately used the app to register again to vote. I want you to go back to vote.org. Please share with your audience, this voter suppression thing is real. Every registered voter should check their status even if they recently voted in this year's primary. They are desperate and will stop at nothing to suppress the vote. Now, folks, if you go to vote.org, as you see here, 77 days until the election. But remember, early voting was going to be happening real soon. You can first check your registration right here on the site. You can also, if you're not, you can register to vote right here on the site. You can get election reminders, pledge to register. Now, when it says vote by mail, you can, depending upon how your state is set up, some states are set up where you can request, you can register online, or others you can actually fill a form out that will send you the absentee ballot. If you click that, what happens is it takes you here, and again, you put your information in. You put your name, where you registered to vote, you put that information, the email address, and then you click continue. It will take you to that particular part of your state and what it says. This is what we have to do. Not only that, also, while you're on here, you can pledge to register, find your polling place locator, and you can also fill out the 2020 census. That's also critically important because the census is how it's determining how many seats your state gets in the House of Representatives. It determines the billions of dollars that actually comes to various communities for a variety of reasons. These are the things that we have to do, Avis, to get people to understand that we must be diligent. They are purging. They've been purging folks from the rolls. The Supreme Court in the Ohio case allowed them to purge people who have not voted in previous elections. Now, those of you listening to me, you might say, well, look, man, I voted a few months ago. But we know from what happened in Florida when you had Governor Scott there. They purged people who were actually on the ballot who were all legal. In Georgia, Brian Kemp, Secretary of State, they did the exact same thing in Georgia. People who were eligible. We're going to have Greg Pallas on in a second, talk about his new book. He details what had happened in Georgia. And so I need our people to be as vigilant as possible and say, double check your registration, Avis. That's where everything starts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think oftentimes people feel like I'm registered, so I don't have to worry about it. Those things are only for people that need to register. No, you need to double check and make sure that your registration is there, that it's counted. Because let me tell you, this is a criminal enterprise. Let's just be real about it. This is a criminal enterprise. They are going to do everything possible to steal this election, including stealing your vote. And so you have to fight back proactively. And an important part of that is, first of all, just going to that resource, making sure that your voter registration is still valid. If you need to register to vote, definitely make sure that you do that, and to be vigilant. And ultimately, if you want to vote in person, let me just suggest, as I mentioned, that is something that I'm going to do. Obviously, do it as safely as you can. Make sure that you can wear double masks, mask up, gloves up, everything up that you can. The thing that I'm concerned about, Roland, also, this is going to be the time when the weather is going to be turning. So it's going to be, they're going to throw everything at us that we possibly can. So the point is, definitely double check your registration, and please encourage everybody in your circle to do the same thing.
Look, we have to be vigilant, and that means, Teresa, if you're in a state that requires a voter ID, you don't have one, get it. Figure out what's the process, get it done. Double check your registration. If you're going to mail, do so. Find out if your state, if your county is going to have drop boxes if you do decide to mail in and vote. Then find out when early voting starts in your state. Don't wait till the last day. Go the first day. Plan ahead, bring your food, bring your snacks, do all you need to do, because the bottom line is, let me be clear, folks, Donald Trump will try to steal this election, and Republicans are going to let it happen because they are consumed by power.
Absolutely. And so literally from A to Z, you just listed exactly what people need to do and what we have to do in order to get the results that is necessary in November. So part of it is, every state has a party system, either Democrat or Republican, but each of them have their own responsibility on how they get out the vote efforts. And so I know, in a few states, Pennsylvania included, I always talk about PA because I'm from Philadelphia, but in PA, the city commissioner's office is always in tandem working with the Pennsylvania and the city commissioner's office to make sure that the resources, the literature, that the get out the vote efforts are there. And they're also working with advocacy groups and nonprofit organizations to make sure whatever event that they are having, even if it's a pop-up shop or something that, where social distancing is happening, they are making sure that people are registering to vote safely. And so I think that is also an important factor to mention to those who have small businesses. It doesn't hurt to tell people or ask your staff, are you registered to vote, and when was the last time you checked? It takes 5 minutes or less to do this effort, and if we can do it safely, that is the first step in order to making sure that you are prepared within, 77 days for the election.
All right, folks, back to that Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. As our community comes together to support the fight against racial injustice, I want to take a second to talk about one thing we can do to ensure our voices are heard. Not tomorrow, but now. Have your voices heard in terms of what kind of future we want by taking the 2020 census today at 2020census.gov? Now, folks, let me help you out. The census is a count of everyone living in the country. It happens once every 10 years. It is mandated by the U.S. Constitution. The thing that's important is that the census informs funding, billions of dollars, how they are spent in our communities every single year. I grew up in Clinton Park in Houston, Texas, and we wanted new parks and roads and a senior citizen center. Well, the census helps inform all of that and where funding goes. It also determines how many seats your state will get in the U.S. House of Representatives. Young black men and young children of color are historically undercounted, which means a potential loss of funding of services that helps our community. Folks, we have the power to change that. We have the power to help determine where hundreds of billions in federal funding go each year for the next 10 years. Funding that can impact our community, our neighborhoods, and our families and friends. Folks, responses are 100% confidential and can't be shared with your landlord, law enforcement, or any government agency. So please take the 2020 census today. Shape your future. Start at 2020census.gov.